Gotta go.
Yeah. My mom had a really big bell.
Do it Monday, no time. Tuesday, no time. That's the way the world works.
Right. Yeah.
Nowhere else. I can't not have my water run downhill.
In fact, I think there's a famous saying about that, like,
Yeah.
all something runs downhill. Like,
No. My initials are on it. That's mine.
you're like, get down.
So I'm like, get down. Like, we're about to be in a shootout. Like, hey, Robert, how are you? And he'd be like, good.
Because we ain't never home. Did I just say ain't?
No.
Quote Taylor Swift. Never wield such power you forget to be polite.
I'm going to quote Justin Bieber and say, go love yourself. A cheers and a high five.
High five.
Welcome to the Mr. and Mrs. Inglis Podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shaen. We're here to talk about the wild ride of raising kids, growing careers, keeping life together in the middle of all the chaos.
So buckle up, because we're all in this crazy journey together.
Tots, la la land, bippity boppity boop. Is that a new one? Bippity boppity boop?
That is a new one.
I just made that up right now.
I love that. I love the Cinderella reference.
Bippity boppity boop.
Yeah, although she's not a boop, she just goes boo
Hmm.
in the actual song. The fairy godmother.
Yeah. Just, I'm looking at our thing. Are we centered?
I don't know.
I feel like you're more to the right than I am.
I feel like I'm closer too, because I look huge compared to you.
Using a different lens. Here you go. Cheers.
Cheers to a rare Wednesday night.
Oh, we're gonna call it out. It's a Wednesday night. Highlights go out tomorrow.
We got it in just in the nick of time.
It's busy. It was like, should we do it Monday? No time. Tuesday? No time. Wednesday? We have some time. Maybe we can squeeze it in.
Yeah.
And
Turns out that it was easy to squeeze in because we had a few cancellations because we had the rare rainstorm.
yeah, that was awesome. Did we get rain here? I wasn't at the house today. I was at a different location.
Yeah.
We did.
We did. We did. So I'm hopeful that we don't have to water the flowers today. I know the kids will be happy about that too.
That is it's a to-do, obviously. Oh, I cheers. I didn't even take a sip, but I'll sip when you're talking, I guess.
Okay.
It's such a to-do during the summer. I love having the flowers. It's really nice to have the flowers in the front and the back, but I mean, I don't remember how many flower pots we have, but there's a few of them. Enough that it's not just a quick dunk, 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 we're done. It takes, when I do it, it's 30 minutes of watering. The whole front takes me 10, 15 minutes to get it done right.
Yep.
Then you go to the back, it's another 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
And the kids spend how much time on it?
Oh gosh, 5 in the back. Well, they do split it up among the 3 of them, but no, it is a legit 10 minutes. Although I think I've gotten pretty efficient on like how I do it.
Yeah.
So I can get it down to 10 minutes.
You got it down. Yeah.
Got it
I mean,
down.
it just needs, it's so hot here. If we don't get them watered.
Well, I feel like it's almost like abuse.
Yeah. Well, and I should mention, a lot of the big pots are automatically watered.
Yeah. Oh gosh, if we had to water those.
Yeah, and then I installed one that was supposed to work and didn't work, and I haven't taken the time to revisit that one because it should water those new ones in the new pots.
I didn't know that it didn't work. I just thought it wasn't fully set up yet.
No, it's not working. It's literally it's like Amazon. It's like the last mile of it. Water comes to the black tube from I can hear it. So if I undo that black tube, water will squirt out.
Mm-hmm.
It's that black tube to the little tubes that then go up into the pots from underneath that it's not making it up.
Got it.
So I just don't know if I did something wrong there, and I have not. It's been 4 months. I haven't revisited. So 2026, that will be running so smoothly, you won't even know what to do with yourself.
That's awesome. Put that on your New Year's resolutions.
I also bought more of that irrigation equipment. So the 2 front trees, I could water those on their own. And I have all the stuff to run it straight to them, and I haven't done that either.
Yeah.
I mean,
what have you been doing with your time? I mean, gosh, I feel like, you have so much extra.
but doesn't everybody have that? I mean, I go to Home Depot and buy all this stuff. Like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. And I go to Home Depot to get all the stuff to do it because I'm a DIYer. But
You are.
But I think I'm a good DIYer.
You're an excellent DIYer.
And I'll go into that more here in just a second, why I say that versus a bad DIYer.
Yeah.
But then I just don't. Sometimes I don't get to it because I need 2 or 3 hours to do something, or even an hour to do something, and to make sure I do it right. And it just sits there. So I've got all these great projects in the garage ready to go.
Ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But you're so good at it and you're so thorough that I think it takes
Thank
you
you.
longer than the average person because they're maybe not as meticulous, or I mean, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it right.
If I can't do it like a professional,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
You won't do it.
I'm just not going to do
You'll
it.
literally hire a professional.
I will hire the professionals to do it, but I am very handy, and
Yes.
this is not a pat me on the back thing, but I'm very handy, and it saved us a lot of money over the years. Plus, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned to you, not on this show, but like when I put that sump pump in over here,
Yeah.
and I had to dig down like 6 feet in, this whole thing with the hot tub, I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show, just back and forth, and just flooded this hot tub multiple times because I think we've mentioned it. The builder didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Anyways, plus the irrigation here. I mean, the land. What is it called when you get rid of the water?
Oh, like mitigation.
Like water mitigation. But I mean, we're on a little bit of a, our property's not level, so it runs from east to west.
Right.
Much to the chagrin of our neighbors to the west.
Yeah,
They don't like
yeah,
that our water
yeah.
comes to them, but it's like that's the way the world works.
Right. Yeah.
Don't know where else. I can't not have my water run downhill to
In fact,
your
I think there's a
property.
famous saying about that, like
Yeah.
all something runs downhill. Like,
Yeah, water.
links.
All water
Water.
runs downhill.
but I think the
Other things do,
principle
too.
applies to a lot of things.
Yeah. Anyways, my point to all that was just as much as I love doing, home improvement things, and I really do like, I'm getting tired of the more manual labor ones. Like, I'm not enjoying digging dirt.
I don't know.
Digging, trenches and digging 6-foot holes. That is starting to wear on me.
You've had to do quite a bit of it. I mean, I will say the engineering marvel that is the sump pump that you put in for this hot tub.
With redundancies, another
With
pump
redundancies,
with redundancies.
I mean,
This is after I've already flooded it 18 times or 4 or 5.
Yeah, pretty sure it's now been the 8th wonder of the world. Like,
Yes. But I'm still not done with it. This is a prime example. I've got the PVC in the other garage because right now that sump pump is just going up out of a regular garden hose, basically. So I run that garden hose over to some other drains that then go to our neighbor's yard downhill. Sorry, there's no other way.
There's
I
no
can't
other
put
way.
it the other
It
neighbor.
runs
'cause
downhill.
It would not go.
Right.
Anyways.
Because guess what? We get their water.
Yeah,
right?
we do. And it infuriates me.
I can't believe that their water would run into our yard, even though they have the higher
Yeah,
ground.
our poor neighbors, they did not like us building this house. They had a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, the ones downhill from us.
Well, and the other ones left.
They did. We offended
After-
both of our neighbors.
Dude, that was a whole story.
Oh,
Crazy
man.
neighbor stories. We can talk about that.
We can talk about crazy neighbor
Oh my
stories.
gosh, we don't have anything to talk about tonight, so we're just gonna come whatever comes to mind. I'm gonna finish my story. I've got
Yes.
PVC to finish that sump pump because I want that water to go straight into the drain and not up out of a hose that I have to move, and that the people that mow our lawn put it right back there. So if it rains, it's literally pumping straight back into itself. Like, if you're gonna move it, put it back. Okay.
What's the definition of insanity, right? Like,
A sump pump draining into itself.
yes. Like, I think that's the new definition of insanity. I love it.
Oh goodness. So I guess let's start with neighbors. That's kind of a cool thing. Like, everybody's got a neighbor, right? Everybody's got a good neighbors. Let's go back to the 80s,
Yeah.
right? Or the 70s, or even the 50s, whenever
I
people.
can't go back that far. I wasn't alive.
No, but some people that listen to this can.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, there was a time when there was the neighborhood, like everybody got along. I mean, maybe the people didn't get along. Maybe it was still neighborhood drama and stuff like that.
Maybe.
But like there was a time when like Sesame Street was the normal. right? Not Oscar the Grouch, not people living in trash cans, but
the whole
everybody was
neighborly
friends,
thing. Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah. Well, and even in my lifetime, I grew up knowing my neighbors very well.
I even know some of your neighbors because you know them so well.
Yes.
At the old, before your parents moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I bet you know actually most of them.
Yeah.
And they know you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's when you bring in, I remember being a kid and our neighbor had all these peas.
Wait, let's go ahead and do it. Do
Okay.
it. So here's your house. Who's
Yeah.
on you're on a cul-de-sac. You grew up, the last house you lived in, because you lived
Yeah.
in a couple, but the last one in Bloomington,
Yeah.
you're on a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
You know everybody there, right?
With the exception of like two houses that kind of changed owners a few times. So I may not know.
But when you grew up,
But
you
when
knew
I
them,
grew up,
though.
for the most part, for sure. Like I babysat the people across the street.
Uh-huh.
The people next door, the Amish, oh my gosh, and they had a little girl who was hilarious. And like, I just remember I was in high school and she was pretty little. She was running around the front yard in the sprinklers in red cowboy boots and nothing else. She's like 3, by the way, just like, it was so funny. And we're like, oh, there's Emily, or Madeline. It was
That
Madeline.
was a good data point.
Yeah, she was 3.
She was troubled. She went to counseling. She was 19, but
No.
she was on drugs. It was weird.
She was just this like free spirit little toddler
Yeah.
who loved red cowboy boots and not clothes. But one of my brother's best friends lived there. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can do that too. Like from Black Diamond, where we grew up, one of my best friends, I think we can say people's names on here, right? Nobody's listening, right? Like the Starkeys. So the Starkeys were right next door,
Yeah.
right? And so one of my best friends, sorry, my mic is so low, I don't know. I'm back. My mic, I had to fix my mic. Technical difficulties yet again. We had to call in the group and the hand and the grip and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
They're the best in the business.
Producer's not happy with me, but
Whatever.
anyway, it's best. Yeah, we had the best in the business.
Best in the business.
Anyways, to our right was the Starkeys, right? And I remember the Starkeys. That was my best friend, so I would go over there. In elementary, as my best friend, so I would spend the night over there all the time. They didn't have a finished basement. I mean, like I can go all the houses that I grew up in. I was there since 2nd grade,
Yeah.
right? They didn't have a finished basement, but we would play down there like He-Man and Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I remember, and if Mitch ever listens to this, he was my friend. It's funny because there was a couple times and this might have started where I got really anal in life, but there was a couple times I kept my toys, as you would guess,
Pristine, I'm sure.
pristine.
If
If I could play with them
hold on.
in the package, I would have.
Pause. You still have many of these toys in pristine condition, and some of them you didn't want to allow our children to play with because you thought our kids might wreck them, which they probably did.
Well, I mean, they're historical items now. I don't know that we should let 2-year-olds play with them, as good of shape as they're in. Anyways, pristine condition, and I would bring some of my toys over there to play when we would play sometimes.
Yeah.
And because mine were so nice, there was a couple of times and he was a year older than me, he switched out a couple of mine. He's like, that's mine. I'm like, no, it's not. That's mine. And I don't like confrontation, or at least at that point in my life, I didn't. I don't like it now either, but I'm fine with it.
Right. As a child, different
Right.
story. Yeah.
So that's when I started putting my initials on, like on the bottom of my G.I. Joe guys. I actually carved my initials into their feet. If anybody remembers G.I. Joes, they had feet and they had those holes in them so they would stand up, right? Well, in that little area, which is 10 millimeters maybe, I used an X-Acto knife that I use for a lot of my model making and whatnot, and I etched my initials into the bottom of those. Some of the bigger ones I'd use like a marker or something like that, but clearly where you couldn't see it because I didn't want to ruin it. But then I knew, like, no, my initials are on that. That's mine. Anyways, that was the Starkeys. Next to them, that one changed over, but the next to them, I used to babysit their kid for a while. Greatest thing ever. I would get $5 after school. I don't know, like 4th grade, 5th grade. I would babysit him for like 2 hours. I would get $5.
Yeah.
And I would get as many pops. No, I think I got 1 root beer. I think we were allowed each to have 1 root beer. Right? Across the street from us was the Cooks. Matt Cook, he was another really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
That's where I watched Thriller when the video Michael Jackson Thriller came out. Remember that? It was a huge deal. It was like
Huge deal.
It was like 20-minute video or something like that. 10, I don't remember what it was.
It was long.
But
for
it
the
was
time.
a big deal. That's where I watched Thriller over there, the Starkeys. In fact, we were the Cooks. We were really good friends with them for a while. Like that was the people we would throw the football with. So like the dads, like Neil Starkey, Jim, and then I can't remember David Cook's dad's name, or David Cook, Matt Cook's dad's name. But we would actually,
famous singer next
but that was like the Sesame Street moment. We had it for like 2 years.
See, and we had pretty much in any of the neighborhoods that I grew up in, because I moved around quite a bit.
Yeah.
During those years where you make friends with your neighbors.
Yeah.
We played Ghost in the Graveyard, and
Yeah.
because like in the house my parents just moved out of, we had the Olsons, and they had like a kid every single one of our kids' age
That's
for the
great.
most
Matches
part.
up, yep.
Yeah. We played Ghost in the Graveyard, and oh my gosh, we did it. So when we lived in the Chicago suburbs, Wheaton, we had the Monachos right there. They had a kid every year. Yeah, they had a kid every year of ours too.
How could you not be friends with somebody named the Monachos?
Well, exactly. They were super cool.
Yeah.
We even went to college with the one who was my younger brother's age. He went to the University of Iowa with us. Like, how? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we played Ghost in the Graveyard too. That was such a fun game when we got to stay out.
Yes.
And that, I don't know what it is, but there's somewhere out there's one of those reels or memes or whatever, but it talks about Gen X's, right? And how we were, latchkey kids. We've talked about it on here before a little bit, but it was totally true. When the lights came on, we went home. In fact, for me, it was when Jim whistled.
Okay.
There was a whistle that went. Anybody listening knows that knows Jim would know that. But I could hear that. My really good friend Jim O'Malley, who was like 2 streets away, I could hear it at his house. I mean, it's got to be 300, 400 yards, because it's 2 streets. It's my street, another street, and then a cul-de-sac. And I could hear it. I'm like, gotta go.
Yeah. My mom had a really big bell. And really
like she could, like a cowbell type thing?
not like a cowbell, like a
A Liberty Bell?
smaller Liberty Bell. Like
Small Liberty Bell.
It was like, the handle was long. The handle was like that, and like
Give us some inches, like 12 by 12?
I don't know. I bet the circumference of the bottom of the bell was 10 inches.
Okay.
And so
And so she would hold, this bell would have a handle?
she would just go ding, ding.
Was it hung somewhere?
No, it like sat up. It was actually I think a hutch that they had. That's something people don't
So
have
there's a
anymore.
freestanding bell
Yeah.
that was,
Maybe it was 6 inches of circumference. I don't know. I can't
and
remember.
she would just bang on that?
Yeah, she would like ring it. Like, like a bell choir at church. I don't know if they have these
Those things
anymore.
like that, and they did it to their chest?
Yeah. So it was like, think of like the biggest bell that you would find in a bell choir.
Yeah.
That's what my mom had. And so when we were playing at
Never
Seven
heard
Gables
this.
Park,
Yeah.
which was probably only like 100 yards away, right? You clearly,
Yeah.
the whistle was louder than this bell. But
that's
we'd be playing at the park, and like we'd hear this bell, and like,
Yeah.
okay, it's time to come home.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never heard that story.
Really?
Yeah. So was it a low pitch? Bigger bells are usually lower
It was
pitch,
a lower
right?
pitch bell. Yeah. Yeah.
But she only do it once, or would she like go crazy on it?
I don't remember, a couple times maybe. Like I bet, she gave us 2 or 3.
She's mad. Like, where are these? Dong, 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 dong. Dong, 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 dong.
Honestly-
Kids are in trouble again.
in trouble again. Honestly, I don't think she was probably just like, dinner's ready, and like she's a mom of 5. She was probably like, they don't have to really rush home because I'm enjoying the quiet.
Yeah. So last question. Where was it located? In a cabinet?
Yeah. So like, the glass hutch.
Yeah.
that
Oh, she takes it out of there, though.
She would take it out of there.
Was it on a handle?
It had a long, straight handle.
So it really was like a choir one.
It was a total choir
she was
bell.
da-boom. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Would she do it like that too?
Probably.
Okay, like, 'cause I know that. Like,
Oh,
the church we went to, they would bring out all the bells
Oh,
for Christmas Eve.
So I think that's what it was for, because my mom was in the bell choir at one of the churches that we were in, and when we moved away, they gave her a bell.
Seriously?
I think so.
That's fantastic. I did not know that.
I apologize if I'm lying to all of our listeners, but I'm pretty sure that's why we have this bell. Because I think it said, like, you know,
I had no idea
like-
RG was so talented.
yeah,
with the
like
bells.
Pax Christi Bell Choir, and then like the years or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they gave it to her as a
Okay.
going away present.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she would ring it. It was in that hutch that was in the living room for a long time.
So did you have any bad neighbors at that point in time? Because I know for us, go ahead. Something came to your mind.
We did.
Uh-huh.
And it's actually not it's not a funny story at all, actually. It's so one of the neighbors had a kid that they had adopted. And this kid was definitely a troubled youth.
Can I reach back? Your earring is like
It's all flipped.
backwards.
Oh.
Flipped, yeah.
Anyway, so this was a troubled youth, and he actually broke into our house and stole money.
Well, I had the same kind of deal. He was another troubled youth. He had special problems of some sort. I don't know what he is, but he was from up the street, and he would come down, and like if your garage was open, he would just wander into it and take stuff out of it. But he was special at that time, before people really kind of treated that differently.
Yeah.
And yours is a different kind of problems. I know. I remember you telling me. about it.
Yeah. It was that. But other than that, like the parents, though, I mean, they were actually friends with my parents, and and honestly, this kid was a friend of my older brother's because he was in the neighborhood. He would play with them, and so we were really surprised. Frankly, we didn't even know that he had broken in and stolen anything until later the cops showed up. But we did have a neighbor who was a Top Gun pilot. He was a Top Gun instructor. He would always wear his
Top Gun?
Yeah, he would wear his Top Gun hat.
Does it look like the movie hats?
100%.
No, really?
Dead serious.
That's
I can't make that up.
hilarious.
Don't remember
What was
that
his
guy's
call
name.
sign?
I have no idea.
Oh, I figured you wouldn't remember his name, but you had to remember his call sign.
I don't think I asked him what his call sign was.
It wasn't Maverick.
It was not Maverick.
Viper, maybe?
He was more of a Viper guy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to think. There was a house across the street from us that was never out and social, and they didn't do their yard even back then. And the yard was
Really?
like just overgrown in a nice, suburban neighborhood in Colorado Springs. And that drove everybody crazy. That house constantly
sure.
turned over. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think we had anyone like that on any of our. I mean, we had some people who weren't really social, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was fine. Maybe they didn't have kids, or I mean, I grew up around a lot of kids.
So think then you get as you progress through life, then you go to like apartments, right? And you figure out, okay.
Oh, don't even get me started on some of the people I've lived next to from an
Oh
apartment
my gosh,
standpoint.
apartments are the worst. You couldn't. I would live in the woods before I'd go back to an apartment, because you got people on the side of you, on top of you. God forbid, on top of you. Remember our little duplex or whatever triplex in Chicago?
Oh my gosh, yes. And the guys above us?
We had a bunch of college guys above us.
Yes. And where we had, I mean, that was a super nice apartment.
Super nice, but one of them was Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
The way he walked around
Yes.
up there, go, everywhere.
What was that?
Oh my gosh.
And where we had like a really nice living room set up,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, it was a nice apartment. They had a beer pong table.
How do you know that? Were you up there?
No, I was never up there, but we could hear
You
it.
could hear it. I'm just kidding.
I was like,
I'm
it was
just
like a
kidding
ding,
with you.
ding,
Yeah.
ding. I was like, did we ever go up there?
That was crazy. There was no elevator in that. I bet if they made that today, they'd put an elevator in there, because that was a lot of stairs.
It was.
Good thing we were young.
Yeah, but I mean, we carried our groceries up.
I know. That's
We
what I'm
did all of
saying.
that. Yeah.
It was only you and I.
Yeah.
One of my sisters lived
she did.
with us for a little while while we were there. But.
Yeah. But yes, I do remember, because you could hear like the tink, tink, tink of the beer pong.
Oh, I remember.
I was trying to remember if we had ever gone up there, though.
Everywhere we've gone, though, in Yorkville, then we moved out to the suburbs when we were having children. Yorkville, we had pretty good neighbors,
Oh, yeah.
except the people on the end.
You're right.
Did you forget about the people on the very end out of our
Oh
back
my
window?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Set the stage. We had lived in that. We hadn't even fully moved in. We didn't.
Brand new neighborhood. So we ground up build with
Ground up.
Pulte homes. Like, so people, like, there's lots, people are buying, people are just buying lots and building brand new homes.
I forgot about this.
Yeah, we can talk about that another day. That was like the most exciting thing we had done. Like, we'd go out there on the weekends and just look at the, you know, what happened, the form and the basement when they drill. Anyways, go ahead.
So we didn't even have furniture. We maybe only had some furniture, but we had only been in there. It was at one of our first nights in the house.
It was early on,
It
for
was
sure.
Early on. I know we didn't have drapery. Like, we had nothing to cover our windows.
Which is another thing we can talk about. I sewed that drapery.
You did. You
Me.
did such a good
It's
job.
like 20-foot curtains.
Yeah, we couldn't afford curtains, so you sewed.
And
Bought
because I
fabric.
had to put blackouts on the back of them.
Mhm.
It was white, and we picked out a curtain, and I sewed them.
You
Anyways,
did.
go ahead.
Yeah. And now you're a seamstress.
Well, I've been a seamstress for 25 years now.
That's what you moonlight doing.
Seaming financial packages together.
Ooh, I like what you did there.
Anyways, go ahead.
But all of a sudden, all these cop cars come flying.
And we knew because we didn't have curtains.
And we knew 'cause we
had
didn't have
huge, like, 2-story windows. It was great.
Yeah. Almost floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
And we're like, what's going on? Guns drawn, everything. I mean, it
There's literally, like, a cop goes, like, into our backyard. On his belly.
yes.
On his belly with a gun, like with a pistol,
Yes.
pointed at our neighbor's caddy corner in our backyard.
Oh my god.
Nobody has fences in these backyards. Fences weren't allowed in this neighborhood, so it was just wide open.
Open. You're like, get down.
So I'm like, get down! Like, we're about to be in a shootout.
At this time, we're like, what have we done? This is like a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
And what was it? It was an alcoholic mother.
Parents, I think. It was the son that had the issue. Remember, the son didn't live. They had like kicked out their kind of adult son.
Son who had
He came back, and they were like
He
trying
had
to get
issues.
They always called the cops on him because he had like drug issues.
yeah, it was Evelyn and Michael. Now their names are coming to me.
What?
Yeah,
I would have.
believe it or not, I remember their names.
That's insane.
Anyway, but yeah, it was their son who came out, who they had kicked out, and he
Yeah.
had a weapon, and he was not
Yeah.
not well.
It happened multiple times.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
Mhm.
That was actually scary from the standpoint that if bullets started flying, right? There's nothing I can do. I mean, I can't like I can like blockade you and I'll take a bullet for you, but I mean like bullets. It's not like you can just stand at your glass window and watch what's
No.
going down. People start shooting bullets.
Right. In fact, we were like laying on the floor.
I know. I was like, get down as far as you can.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you're like kind of peek up to see like, are they still there? Yep, still there. And
Just a single shot to the head.
oh my gosh.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, everybody's got neighbor stories. That's why, you know, it's fun to bring up things that other people can kind of think through, like, what are my neighbors and the crazy people we lived with,
Right.
you know? So that was that one. Everybody else there was good. In fact, some of the people that were across the street, the Wallaces, out their names,
Yeah.
they're up in Minnesota now. They were super nice.
Super nice. Wally would help me because you were gone
Yeah,
for a good portion of like our first winter there.
traveled a lot for the bank.
And so he would help me.
Oh, that's when I was living in San Francisco.
You lived in San
We
Francisco.
moved into this. So here's this.
This is insane.
Yeah, so we moved into this house like December 19th. I don't know the actual day, but close to that.
Let's do it.
And then I was in a special program at Wells Fargo, CMTP. So it was a big deal at the time. Now everybody goes through it, but it's a big deal at the time to get chosen for it. And but it was 5 months in San Francisco. They relocated you to San Francisco, and I had to be there like January 6th.
Yeah.
I think was like my report date or something like that. So we knew this was coming. The house was supposed to be finished by like December 16th. And they finished it. We got in at like December 19th or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was all white, so I wanted to get some things in. I got the house settled, so Megs, so you could be there. So you could live there by yourself. I mean, like, from someone also that enjoys things new, right? You have no, I mean, you do know, because I think I said it to you, but it was so hard to be like, we have a brand new house that we've been building for 9 months or whatever it was.
You're so excited.
And I don't get to break it in.
Yeah.
I get there. I was literally in the house for 7 days.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. It ended up being like 7 days.
That's it. Yeah.
And I painted the entire 2-story foyer, or no, a family room at that point in time. I don't remember what else I did. I got a couple things ready, and then I was gone for 5 months.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm glad, Wally was a super nice guy. They're still nice. Every now and then they'll like Facebook us or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're friends with them on Facebook, and like the people behind us. Actually, all the neighbors, other than it wasn't Michael and Evelyn. It was Frank and Evelyn. Other than Frank and Evelyn, we're still friends with on Facebook.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sherry Mahoney was, so
the Mahoney, yes,
yeah.
behind us
Yeah.
there. Yeah, he was an electrician. She was super nice. They had young kids similar to our age.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they did very well in life.
Kendra Jordan was next door, so it's like we knew.
Yeah.
We actually had some really good neighbors. Yeah. Frank and Evelyn obviously had a troubled life, but.
Sands. Yeah. And we didn't have anybody across the street because it wasn't even built.
Wasn't built.
But those were kind of on that other street that was already built.
Yeah.
So we were there for, 8 years. We were there for a long time, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years. Whatever it was.
I could do
so
the math.
Something like that. Yeah. I'm going to say 8 years is something like that. And then we relocated to, the bank relocated me back out to Colorado. Mm-hmm. That's when we were on Owl Roost.
Yep.
And those neighbors were, you just take our age at the time times 2.
Uh-huh.
And that was our neighbors.
And we didn't fit in.
But one of them, we still get Gary and Lou. Mm-hmm. We get their Christmas card every year still. And they're one of the ones that type it out, like, here's what's happening.
Oh.
Nicest people.
So sweet. And she writes a handwritten note to us every single time. Because I send them a Christmas card as well.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Lou and Gary Colhane are sweetest people. But they were really the only people we knew.
Yeah.
On that entire street.
Yeah, and everybody was twice our age. It was a neighborhood that it didn't have anybody our age.
No, our kids would not have been playing in the street because there were no children.
No, yeah.
Even though there was a park literally across the street.
It was fantastic. I loved that house. We finished the basement in it.
We finished that whole house.
People probably thought, that's right. We redid that whole house.
We redid the whole thing.
People had to think we were crazy though, because we had like a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then a newborn in that house. Our youngest was born in that house.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our other 2 were born in the other house.
Right.
The one that we were just talking about in York.
Right. We were just at that stage of life where, like, as long as we're having babies, we may as well, finish it up.
So anyways, Owl Roost was great. We had a couple of neighbors there, a couple that we just didn't fit into, and then down here to Texas.
Yeah.
Right? And we've been here for literally almost a decade.
Not almost. It's been over a decade.
Over a decade.
So we
2015.
Moved,
yep.
We moved in February of end of January 2015.
And we never thought. Did you ever think in a million years you live in Texas?
No.
Me either.
Me
either.
Of all the places.
Yeah.
In fact, we joked when we had our daughter, because her name, if you were to put a Southern accent with her name, it's very Southern Belle sounding. And so we're like, well, we can never live in the South because, that's not really the intent of her name. Well, guess what? The irony is,
yeah,
here we are.
Well, we almost did because my grandmother's name is Ava Nell, right? And we almost named our daughter Ava Bell, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Which
would have
been very Texan.
Very Southern.
A cute little name, but her name is definitely what she is.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
And I don't think people say usually, because that was her first and middle name, so I don't think they usually call her by her first and middle name.
Things are all backwards here. But it was weird. We never thought we'd live in Texas.
We never thought that? No.
Yeah. I was born in Dallas.
Yeah.
Which was the weird oddity. So it's almost like people are like when I'm here, I hate the question now when I live in Texas. People are like, where were you born? I'm like, Dallas.
They're like, oh.
With a huge caveat here. I grew up in Colorado. I consider myself a Colorado boy because I lived in Colorado for 30 years.
Yeah.
And we moved to Colorado when I was before I was a year old.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm a Colorado boy. So we moved to the other house, I guess, over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And that was really a pretty nice neighborhood too. That was a little bit of a Sesame Street neighborhood.
It was. The kids, the kids played outside, and everyone was in the streets. We lived in a cul-de-sac, so
We had a cul-de-sac at the end there. We had the Ernsons and the DiVincenzo's right across from us. Both of them our age, maybe a couple years older, maybe.
but around. I mean, we were in the
But
same
kids
stage of
our
life.
age,
Yeah.
same stage of life, and that was another Sesame Street. That was a fun time.
It was, and
Yeah.
our kids had a blast. It was the type of neighborhood that we would send our kids outside. Yes, our youngest, and apologize to, it was the Greisers who ended up bringing Liam home. Oh, sorry. It was the Greisers who ended up bringing our youngest home one time because he may have gotten out, but
Yeah.
without clothes.
Again, as a baby.
As
That
a
is
baby.
19-year-old.
Anyway,
Well, he's
but
not 19 now.
it was just one of those things where, yeah, we would send our kids out and they would play, and
It was those were.
kids in and out all the time.
I almost look at those times like we were young. Like remember like Tony across the way,
Yeah.
right? Like Tony, they moved too soon, unfortunately, because they were great,
Yeah.
Tony and Kristen. But I called him like my older brother,
Yeah.
right? Because like he played basketball or Texas Tech.
Yeah.
He's a walk-on, I think, there. And then he took me a couple times to his gym and we'd play, even though I hadn't played in a long time and whatnot. But he knew I was trying to,
Yeah.
play as well as I could with him. But like they were such fun people. And then the Ernsons,
Yeah.
like we went to a ton of concerts with them. We would do Halloween with. I mean, like
Yeah.
we really, had a nice little couple years of a nice little Sesame Street
Yeah.
situation.
We really did.
Yeah.
We did. And then we moved to this house.
Well, I'm just trying to think. Let's go back. We're talking about neighbors.
Okay.
I mean, not that we're dedicating this whole show to. It basically is dedicated to this, to neighbors at this point. But so we knew them.
Yeah.
We had, who was next to us? Kara.
Oh, yeah. We had the Kara. So we had the Helms and the Greisers.
The Helms and the Greisers. Yeah, the
both
Greisers
sides.
moved in a little bit later. Super nice.
Oh, yeah.
Great people. The Helms, Kara, super nice.
Oh, my gosh.
So nice. I know she was busy with a whole bunch of stuff. Her kids were a little bit older than us.
Mm-hmm.
But how funny, her husband was like a ghost.
We never saw her husband. I mean, like,
I can't think of his name.
Robert.
Robert, thanks. Gosh, it's terrible. But we never saw Robert. Every now and then I would see Robert and I'd be like, hey, Robert, how are you? And he'd be like, good.
Well, it was
And
funny.
he'd go in.
Remember? So Robert's father,
Oh, Bob.
Bob, lived in the house.
Bob was great for a
we saw
while.
Bob all the time. But
And
we
he
never
was
saw Robert.
chatty.
Oh, gosh. Bob was
He
amazing.
was super nice. Yeah.
So nice. But we never saw Robert.
There was
So we saw his
there
dad.
was, I think he was just busy with career. I think he was a radio voice
He was.
for real estate. He did this thing, he did this kind of stuff.
Before
made
this
money
thing was
off of
like
it.
yeah.
Yeah, before it was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a real estate
He was
developer.
in real estate, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, nicest people.
Super nice, yeah.
Like,
So that was a fun. But that was the reason. But you talk about neighborhoods though. That neighborhood that was our first, I think, HOA.
yeah.
And the HOA es no bueno con Shaen.
Oh, yeah.
That was an issue. That was an issue. So at some point we put a pool house in our backyard and we did some
Yeah.
changes in the backyard. All of which I went through the proper channels and sent stuff to the HOA and got it pre-approved and everything.
Yes.
But here's just a side note on that one. So we built this pool house in the backyard that matched the architecture of our house, which was a French chateau type thing.
Yes.
But along the way, while we were just building it,
Oh my
I
gosh.
made this one because it had like a, what do you call that thing?
It was like a tower or a turret.
It had like a tower, but the tower was going to have a cone on it because it matched blah, blah, blah. But along the way, to make it fun, I made it into like a castle tower. So for the kids, because I designed it so you could get up there.
Mhm.
So it was like 20 feet high. And I always think it's fun to have like a lookout tower type thing. So I made it fun for the kids to get up there. Well, oh God, the HOA saw that we had a castle tower. By the way, it's clearly not finished.
Oh yeah, I mean it was.
I had
still-
hardy board
right,
on the outside of it.
right.
And they knew the final finish was stone. So I had hardy board. Actually, it was flexible hardy board because it was on a
Because it was round.
It was on a curve. So we had the HOA, like they brought everybody and their mom just knocking on our door, walking through our house, demanding to see the backyard.
Yeah, because he had a fiduciary responsibility too.
Oh my God. He sent me the email. I have a fiduciary duty to this neighborhood to preserve like the architectural, like, you know what I mean? Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh, it was. Yeah.
Oh
that
my
guy was.
gosh.
We only like to talk about people. Like, if we're going to say something nice about someone, we'll say their name.
Yeah, I don't want to say somebody's name that I'm going to talk smack about, but
Oh, he was insane.
yeah, I was like, from that moment, I'm like, I'm not going to live here long term because that guy, he was the classic HOA president or whatever he was.
Stand like beside our driveway and like try to.
Oh yeah, we could see them we would look out of our windows in the front of the house. You could see him down the street.
Like trying to peek into our backyard.
Just trying to look over, trying to see what's happening in our backyard. And that was the seed.
Crazy. Yeah.
That was the seed that was like, I'm not going to live here.
Yeah.
There's no way. I'm not going to be exposed to someone like that who could tell me what to do in my life. I'm a grown damn man.
Right.
And there's no way I'm going to let someone like that tell me what I can do.
Especially
within the scopes of the rules. I'm a rule follower.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You approved it already. I'm going to finish it the way I said I was going to approve it. I did something fun for the kids in the meantime while we're building it. Mm-hmm. And you guys had to have a issue.
Yeah. That guy was crazy.
So we set the record with the highest sell in that neighborhood, and we built this house. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And good riddance. All right. Clearly I hold a lot. That guy, but it does bug me when people leverage the smallest amount of influence that they have in a negative way.
Yes.
And this was an HOA president. Like, give me a break.
I know.
Like, there's a way to handle this, but if you want to handle it like you're, a mob boss bringing down the weight on me, you know what I mean?
It was the craziest thing.
Oh my gosh.
Like, quote Taylor Swift, never wield such power you forget to be polite.
I'm gonna quote Justin Bieber and say, go love yourself. All right, that's it.
Fair.
Where are we at here? I'm getting long. Well, we're back at school.
Yes.
We're back into the regular, schedule.
We are.
How's it feel for you? Is it weird being here? I've been working away from the house.
Right.
For the last week and a half or 2 weeks. So you're here all alone right now, which is odd. I'm not the other person in the other office in the house.
I know. If we have to email each other, it's always like, I love you, says the person in the back of in the office at the back of the house.
Yeah. The office around the corner.
It's strange. It's so quiet.
Yeah.
I like it to some degree, but there's some good things about it. But at the same time, I miss it. Like, having someone else there. It does help that the dog does not leave my side all day. But yeah, it's just back to the regular routine. It's, you go 0 to 60 from the moment you wake up, 5:45 to 11 p.m. You just go.
We lost an hour of sleep because we have to get up at 5:45, which is fine because when we were in Chicago, speaking of Chicago.
Oh my gosh.
Because we had to take the train into town.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what time?
I think we got up at 4:55.
4:55, okay.
Yeah.
Whew. It's not a good thing when your alarm has a 4 on it.
Yeah.
For a regular workday.
For a regular workday.
You had to catch the train into town. So yeah. Mm-hmm. So 5:45 doesn't sound horrible, but it's less than an hour later.
Right. And
we're definitely not going to bed till 11. Because
we can't go to bed.
We don't even get home till 10 almost.
Right.
From soccer practice.
And so it's just like, there is no chance to go to bed earlier.
Yeah, which it was canceled tonight. Hence, we're midweek. What's the word you always use? Sipping? Imbibing.
We're midweek imbibing.
It's wood, meek, and bib. That doesn't work.
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm really confused by that one.
All right, well, what do we have coming up? Anything?
I think this weekend is actually quiet, but I mean, starting next weekend, we're going to be traveling a ton over the fall
Soccer.
for soccer.
Yeah.
So
Austin, Colorado. I know. Those are just
Austin,
soccer
Colorado,
games.
San Diego.
We got a San Diego too.
Mm-hmm. Houston. I don't think Atlanta. I think Indianapolis is in the spring. Florida's more spring. I mean, it's like insane.
Interesting. Well, that just means we'll have some on location.
We'll be
Mr. and
on
Mrs.
location. The good thing is, though, is that our boys are usually playing away at the same location. So, like, both boys are playing in Austin and both boys are playing in Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that helps.
All right. Well, I guess we're coming up on the time that we do our word of what this week was.
I got mine.
I've got mine. You ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Exhausting.
Tiring. Oh, that's pretty close.
Here.
I don't want to. We're gonna cheer.
Let-
Cheers and. Oh, hold on. Let's do this. We're gonna do a cheers and a high five. Oh, that's only happening because we've been bibbed.
We've been bibbed.
Yeah. The exact same feeling. We'll get caught up. We'll get used to it again.
We will.
But it's very exhausting right now.
It's exhausting.
Your parents are supposed to come down at some point too, right?
Yeah.
So we'll try to fit that in.
We'll try to fit that in. It'll be great.
Yeah,
We love having people.
we do.
We just we just bring them into the fold. Like,
Anybody that visits us knows, like, hey, come on in. You're going to be going to a soccer game with us if you want to spend time with us.
heck yeah.
There's just no time.
Because we ain't never home.
We'll just end it there.
Did I just say ain't?
Nothing's ever been more eloquent out of your mouth. Yeah, that was odd. It was not you. That was not like you.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long Wednesday.
Gosh, it's only Wednesday. All right.
Tomorrow's Friday Eve, though, so that's good news.
Oh, good news. I like that. Hold
All
on
right.
to that.
Well, I guess we'll sign off then, right?
We will. Okay. Should I do mine first?
What do you mean? What are you going to do?
My regular now.
First? Okay, you go first, and I'll go after you.
All right. My regular is just.
I thought we did it at the same time.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Okay, with no countdown on this. We're just gonna say, thanks for joining. Thanks for checking us out. We always appreciate you guys.
Ciao, ciao.
Oh, you win. See ya.